I see the enemy on 12.
If you've been following along with my combat review videos, or you plan on following along after seeing this video, I thought that looking at some Ukrainian training would help provide a little bit more context between what you're seeing in training to maybe what you should be seeing on the battlefield. This is going to be a video of the 3rd Assault Brigade and the 12th Special Forces Azov Brigade's Sargeant School. If you want to continue helping me build this channel as you all have been, you can continue to do that by feeding the algorithm down below.
I'm a stormer. I don't care. I'll come to you. And we'll kill all. Contact. Grenade. Clear, go back. Cover, cover. Minus. An officer is responsible for the direction, for motivation. He must explain what it's for, outline where to, and a sergeant is responsible for the word how it should be carried out. Everyone listen carefully to your squad commander, to the radio, and so on. Plus. It means being more tangential to the battlefield, tangential to the lads. To frontline everyday routine, it will always have the majority of fans. And we're cultivating it. That is, we're showing by our own example why a sergeant is exactly the kind of person who is a leader on the battlefield. Left flank, aim precisely, 2 rounds. And that's how the idea of creating our sergeant school was born, sort of an intensive course. For it was necessary to create a new system of instructors that would be able to create this sergeant pillar, that will be able to create a system that will give us recovery.
Generally, a sergeant is going to be the squad leader. Underneath the sergeant and the squad leader are going to be several team leaders who are going to have several soldiers under them. The squad leader doesn't really want to be responsible for every single person in the squad. It's more efficient for them to be responsible for individual team leaders and allowing the team leaders to command their own teams.
A system that will create leaders for us, that will train leaders, train commanders, train soldiers without breaking away from combat operations. If you just take a book, some Soviet or American instruction manual, there is no recipe for this. It must be applied based on experience. Examples are needed. We took the best guidelines of the West. We adapted them to our weapons, to our mentality, and to our war. That's it. Let's start. A situation is simulated that imitates real modern combat actions, like soldiers bunching up, into whom some projectile will fly in any case. And you will become a priority target, like a drone that will drop down, a mortar that will adjust its fire at you. Bam! You've got yourself blown to bits. You're lying down screaming. You're lying and screaming. Next time I'll throw it in your faces. Don't freeze.
The kill radius on a grenade is 15 feet and the casualty radius is 50 feet. We don't typically see the Ukrainian soldiers utilizing this technique of maintaining a distance between one another because they're always working, it seems like, in a confined space, which is inside of the trench. And especially when they initially enter the trench, you got 3, 4, 5, 6 guys that are landing, making that initial footprint inside the trench. And so at that point, everything in front of them is hot. There's really no opportunity unless they start immediately pushing for them to spread out. But in theory, yes, you do want to try to maintain, at least 15 meters between one another, or at least you yourself and a battle buddy, and then 15 meters between everybody else. That way, if there is a grenade, there is a mortar strike, or there is an artillery round, you're taking minimal casualties when that's happening.
He's bleeding out. Come on, faster, damn it. That's it. Can you not tighten it up? Keep twisting it properly.
Almost every single person that ever gets a training tourniquet put on their leg doesn't like that happening because obviously it doesn't feel good. And almost every single instructor is always going to make you actually go through the process of tightening it as tight as you can, just to get that muscle memory down.
We try to create a situation for them they've already been in, that is, a dangerous situation from the battlefield, to plunge them back into it. Yes, there are losses. Yes, there are constant evacuations. Yes, there were failed operations. We break those down together with them. Their first assault operation usually fails. The group's clearing the building. We keep moving on. He's not holding his rifle up. Take and hold his sector while he's not holding it up so that his sector is watched. Shivas, lay fire to the left side. Back. Back. You forgot about me. Once you've gained a foothold in the house, that's it. You realize that you've gained a foothold. You make a dash right off. The more pressure there is from your side, the more terrified they will be to fight you, because they will think that you are completely batshit crazy since you're pushing on like that. Trust me, it works.
I think we've definitely seen this to be true. In one of the videos that I'm working on, you're going to see the Ukrainian forces being very aggressive to get inside the trench, and before the Russian forces are even ready to respond, they are not even able to get to their weapon systems that they have in place. Some of them don't even have body armor on. I think they become complacent because they're sitting inside the trench for such a long period of time, and they just don't think anything's going to happen. And again, they become complacent, and by the time they realize they're being attacked, they're already being overwhelmed with gunfire, and the Ukrainians have gained fire superiority, and once you are at that disadvantage, it's really difficult to overcome that.
Bjorn, what the hell is that? What should I throw at you so that you understand me? I already hit you once for bunching up, but you seem to keep doing it. Hell, I'm sorry, but I wanted to report to headquarters that we have a wounded in action. No one answered me back. No one. Wrap it around your head. You shouldn't come close to each other. There should not be more than 2 of you in one spot. These days, every goose launches and flies FPVs. We're growing too. That is, when I work through the scenarios. I work on mistake analysis with cadets. And when the cadets are already asleep, we gather with the instructors and discuss our actions. We do it to become even more effective. Ready? Start. Entry. Coming. Covering. You fired and you hid. Again, from the same position, you stuck your head out, fired and hit again. It will work twice, and the third time the enemy will understand where you're shooting from. He will simply draw his rifle, and as soon as you raise your head, a bullet will fly into your head. Therefore, after each shot, we change position.
That's definitely something that is always kind of been taught in practice, but we don't really see the Ukrainian forces doing that a whole lot. And I think that's just because they're in such a confined space, usually inside the trench, and moving about some of these trenches is very difficult. There's branches, there's sticks, their gear is getting hung up on everything. And so to shoot one round and move to a different position and shoot another round, it just becomes something that becomes impractical because it's so difficult to continue doing, especially for longer periods of time.
Machine gun on 11 o'clock. Hide your silhouette. We've got all neat here. Left one's empty. Left one's empty. What's with the commands over there? In principle, the plan was awesome. The tactics were awesome, but something went down the shitter. One more thing. The most important thing, the very basic thing. No one was really repeating the commands. Everything the squad commander was saying, this information was conveyed to you, but it was not repeated. Therefore, he had to shout his head off because this information wasn't fully reaching everyone. Only after some time.
We've talked about this before. Typically, the only ones that are going to have communication radios is going to be the team leaders and the squad leaders. Honestly, in an infantry setting, if you had every infantryman, every soldier with their radio, there would probably be a lot of unnecessary conversations happening. It's not really a necessary thing in the infantry setting for every single person to have a radio. It would actually probably complicate things, in my opinion. Therefore, everyone else who doesn't have a radio, anything that needs to be relayed has to be communicated to one another, yelled, and relayed to the next person to get the information to the person who actually needs it.
Only after some time. And we know that at a moment like this, the speed of decision-making is the most important thing. Let's become professional and take into account our mistakes in the future. They will save your life, and, more importantly, the lives of your subordinates. We instill in a sergeant the understanding that he is responsible for the personnel, that when they'll walk 5 kilometers on their feet, they will take that tree line and push back the enemy assault, that is, they will push back the enemy advance. They will need to dig themselves in, dig in and in, build fortifications. But they have no energy. Where can they get it from? And this is where discipline comes in, and this is where a sergeant steps in. So, what we've been given today for, we're going to prepare for defense. The sergeants are faced with the task of organizing the defense of a platoon strongpoint. They arrived at more or less prepared positions that need to be improved. They have to make reserve positions, set up machine gun points, Points for the operation of anti-tank weapons. Organize a stabilization point and a command observation point. So in principle, organize a complete defensive position for their platoon. If possible, we need to deepen them a little, especially those places where you will have the most movement, and cover them with something to neutralize the threat of targeted drop charges on you from Mavics.
Does anybody know any actual defense mechanism against these drones that are dropping grenades or other charges on top of, Ukrainians, or the Ukrainians dropping them on Russians? I've seen them try to put up webbing or netting, but I think I heard them talk about how that doesn't work. So I'm thinking when he's talking about protection from these drones, he's just talking about covering the trench and giving them somewhere to hide. But if you have more information on that, you can put that in the comment section.
Come on, take the defense, for God's sake. There's a lot of work here. So height-wise, can you shoot from here or not? Of course. Of course. I specifically chose this position. Here, height-wise, I'll need to dig in a little more, and that's all. I'll be able to fire perfectly. Even now, I can see the sector perfectly. We need to choose a firing point for ourselves. And if we're drawing an individual range card, then we must immediately identify reference points for ourselves.
If you look out here, you're seeing this tree right here. He's talking about a range card. And what a range card is basically going to give you a left and right lateral limit. It may intersect, or probably should intersect, with other firing positions throughout the trench. And they're really important because some other soldier may come and relieve you at your post that hasn't been there before and doesn't actually know what those left and right lateral limits are, and maybe some other special duties that may be required of them. And so literally you'll leave a piece of paper called a range card on the post itself, so that person that you're relieving can get that information. You'll probably have a little debrief so you can explain it to them, but that's what a range card is.
Fellows, look, you don't have the task of making a cool mound. Your task is to disguise the position. We conduct training in the conditions of urban combat. We give them the examples of Bakhmut, Mariupol, Chechnya, Syria, everything we've learned where we were ourselves, or what we've learned from open and closed sources. We give them scenarios, we give them practice.
Вивчали це з відкритих джерел, закритих джерел. Ми даємо їм сценарій, ми даємо їм практику.
Take a turn and take open areas under fire control. And as we did last time, clear these small buildings and take under fire control the corner of large houses, sectors, so that the assault group could already approach them and begin the assault itself. Everything is according to good old drawings. One of you here, another one here. We pull the gate open only with a rope or a cat hook. We never open it ourselves because God knows what is waiting for you there.
I really like this. This is the kind of stuff that you don't see people training or talking about. A lot of what you see is individuals stacking up on rooms, doors, houses, and taking over the house rather quickly, which is almost something that doesn't happen all that often in urban warfare. This unorthodox, outside-of-the-box stuff is certainly going to save lives if we can handle what's inside that courtyard, inside that room from the outside, and open that door from a distance. That's preferred rather than sending 2, 3, 4, 5 individuals inside of this room and then getting mowed down by a machine gun.
As we know, when we work with corners, the first person never holds 12 o'clock. He holds the corner, first of all, because he is the first to enter the line of fire, essentially. Let's try, men. Good.
I don't really know why he entered crouch like that. Typically, you may enter crouch in that way if you were in a high-low position, so that when you entered, basically with a soldier above you, you didn't get into his line of fire. But I'm not quite sure why he continued to kind of move low as soon as you went in. Seemed like it maybe put him in more of a compromising position because you kind of lose your mobility when you do that.
Clear. In the conditions of urban combat, a second can become expensive. You'll be holding this sector for half an hour, but if you screw up one single moment, some will definitely pop out of there and start to open fire at you.
There is no single tactic that's going to work.
Не существует единой тактики, которая будет всегда работать. Мы не идем защищать траншею сразу с 4-6 людьми вот впереди.
Same with inside of a building.
То же самое внутри здания.
Minimal risk to force.
Минимальный риск для всей вашей силы. Второй хочет просто пройти через проход. Ему пизда. He's dead.
The second one just wants to walk through the passage. He's screwed.
Yep. He's clearing.
Он зачищает, он чистит.
Going in.
Заходим.
You see them entering into this space, which happens to be big enough for the both of them when they're not wearing a kit. I'm not sure if it would be if they were wearing full kit, but what they're trying to do right here is take this opening, this room simultaneously so that one's going left and one's going right. And when we do it that way, we are covering each other's backs as we enter into this space.
Trench, right?
Clearing as much of the... Давай.
Okay.
Давай.
We don't fucking trust the barrel in a fucking hole.
Это дуэль автоматическим оружием.
You will both lose.
Вы оба ее проиграете.
So that second barrel is the only chance you have of putting him down.
It looks like that's a corner-fed room, and I believe what he's talking about right there is if you have a soldier entering and he's running the rabbit, right? If there's a bad guy in that corner immediately to the left, then the theory is that that bad guy will track that first soldier into the room, and the only opportunity you will have to put rounds on the bad guy is that second barrel, that second soldier entering into that space and focusing on that threat area.
Единственный шанс убить его. Все, давай.
Yeah, he's ahead.
You might be thinking that this training area doesn't look anything like what we've seen the Ukrainian soldiers actually experience themselves on the battlefield, and that's true, but it's important to understand that same thing with a CQB training house. It doesn't look anything, well, it may look like the inside of an actual house, but there's usually very limited furnishing, if any, and a lot of people like to point that out, right? Well, it's important to understand the basic fundamental principles and to learn those basic fundamental principles in a sterile environment and then apply those fundamental principles into an environment that is probably more chaotic and a little bit more difficult to operate, because if you tried to add all these furnishings and add all these variables inside of a training environment, then you're going to have a hard time actually learning the fundamentals, because you're only going to be overloading and overcomplicating the processes that you're trying to complete.
So what? Do you have any understanding, gentlemen? In any case, we will do several stages. We will work through this again. He explained that if you take training seriously, you can get about 20% of the experience of real combat from it, but without paying with this reverse side of the medal, which is blood or losses. I train them based on mostly 90% combat experience of the brigade. I give them the combat experience of Mariupol, the Shirokine operation, the principles of leadership and management, all my mistakes that I had a long time to process in my head, and find ways to prevent them in the future, ways to overcome these mistakes, so that they already learn and do not make my mistakes. Mistakes of Azov, mistakes of the battalion.
So he said that in a combat training environment, you get about 20% close to as real combat as you can. And I agree with that. In the military setting, it's very difficult to get as close as possible to the real thing, because it's closer to the real thing usually involves role players that are shooting projectiles at you, where you're actually getting a reaction or feeling a reaction. In the military, the only thing we ever did was force on force with blanks, and that just doesn't do it. It just doesn't feel real. You're not getting a reaction on the target. You're not reacting to what they're doing usually. But I would say in a law enforcement scenario perspective, force on force, you can get much closer to the real thing than you can in a combat situation, because you can have a real scenario with real people that you have to deal with, talk to, handle, and coordinate certain things. And it just to me, law enforcement scenarios, you can get much more closer to actual real-life conflict.
Батальйону там.
Was there a command to load up? Don't rush, we'll always have time. Where are the commanders? Attention, damn it. You've got 10 minutes to split up into fire teams as much as possible. But don't bunch up. And what's your current task? To storm all the existing trenches. We are ready to start moving. Plus, get ready. We'll start moving now. All right, I'm off. Come on. All right, let's follow them into the forest one by one. Yes, go, go, go. Contact. I see the enemy on 12. Get him. Gotta throw a grenade in there. Shoot through there. He was sitting here in the corner. Damn great. No one was covering you. You're WIA because you were standing with no cover for some reason.
I like how they're using balloons. They're cheap. You get an instant, reaction to the target. You don't have to check it afterwards because you hit it. So that's a really good idea, using balloons.
Use cover next time.
We teach our personnel to, first of all, create an opportunity to make mistakes during the training process, to identify this mistake, correct it, and become stronger. There's another dugout here. There was an enemy here in the nearby trench. Ah, damn. Zink it. Where? Can you throw it in there? Grenade. You missed. Clear, clear, clear. Go back, go back. Game over. Kartzer and Kalak. What, we've got KIAs? Yes, 2 KIA. Shit, where do you see a ballon? Look carefully. Ah, damn, he's sitting in the trench there. I told you. Are you sure you've cleared everything? Yes, the rear. We missed out the rear. He's YIA.
That was pretty cool. They had a balloon, a yellow balloon, in the field over that way, and because they didn't see it and didn't engage it, they got a KIA from that.
Hell, damn it, he dropped down. So, we create conditions in which it is not a shame to make a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. We have to identify our mistakes and work on them. Basically, the School of Leadership is built on this principle of after-action review, that is, after-action analysis. The School of Konovalets. Come on. First platoon, 1 squad at a time, what you planned, your actions, what went wrong, your decisions. Talk through at least some of your mistakes. We cleared everything with small arms fire, but because we missed out 1 green balloon on the left, behind the breastwork, the instructor told us that we both got KIA straight away. Nowadays it's drones. It's arty. Nowadays, every sergeant, every soldier has to be an attaboy to save his brother in arms. And we teach them to be these attaboys. We teach them to consider every aspect, to plan every aspect, and not to work, relying purely on good luck. Comfort, what's up? Begin to carry out the evacuation of WIAs. They're dead and I'm alive. What do you got? Leg. Can you walk by yourself? He's got his leg fractured. You think he can walk by himself? He says he can hobble. He's got 3 bullets in his leg.
One thing that he said was everybody makes mistakes, and that he teaches these other soldiers from the mistakes that he made, from the battles that he was in. And there isn't a single instructor, teacher, coach, whoever, who is teaching you something who hasn't made the mistakes that they're actually trying to prevent you from making. One of the things that I usually say in my class is, it's not that I haven't made these mistakes, it's that when I made these mistakes, they didn't cost me anything. And my hope is that you can learn from my mistakes so that they don't cost you everything.
Hard-ass tiger. He doesn't want to let you down. But he can't walk by himself. You have to understand it yourselves. Incoming. Incoming. Holy shit.
У меня сардины, бля.
You're shell-shocked already. GP is hit. A GP dropped down again. Some idiot is sitting there with an underbarrel. Incoming GP. Damn, we have to do something. We need to walk out of here. Comfort. Come on. You and I are the closest to him. Let's take him under his arms and carry him. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Cover. Cover. Just as I stood and watched, I saw how the group that was carrying out the WIA got killed by a mine that fell right into their trench. Due to the fact that they were walking in a straight line without cover, we dragged this boar. And
he said a mine that fell into the trench. I think someone pointed out in the comments somewhere that the word mine is also used to mean grenade. I'm not sure if that's true, but it sounds like it's true because you wouldn't actually drop a mine into a trench.
then we fell from powerlessness. We had to split up. And it hit us because we stayed in one place. We got pinpointed. A VOG chased us down. Right. A VOG chased us down. We saved, so to speak, our combat mate. Don't you hear anything? I do. What do you hear? A drone. Why the hell are you silent? Bars, tourist, surfer, drone above us. Take cover. Plus, UAV, simulated fire.
They're probably not going to shoot at their own drone because they cost money, so he said simulated fire.
We were here, remember? Right here in this place, and we wanted to come here. But we had to run here instead. It seems that everything was good, but our communication was on the poor side a little bit. Do we still have anyone left? Can't your combat mates cover us from the right flank? Hold on, I'll try to get in touch with that trench. We cleared the trench with a 7/10 score, and then it turned out to be a complete ass. Not enough communication. You can get in a situation, but getting out of it, what to do next? Did you understand what went wrong? I had to establish communication with them. I was the only one with a walkie-talkie, and they all stayed there. Well, I had to run. Lads, the stretcher. Help us with your legs, screw it. I have my legs tied down. I think my main screw-up is that I understood where the evacuation point was, but I didn't know that there was a collection point for the wounded there in the forest. This is purely my fault. I didn't clarify this matter with my commander. We threw it real bad. We threw it real bad. The trench line is further along here. Shiva, will you throw a smoke out? I will. Where? Where? Right. Where? I replied. Yes, I pointed with my hand. Will you throw it? I will. Where? I can throw it there. Is that how it was? Yes. Yes, that's pretty much how it was. That's how it was. No, really. Look, lads, the objective of this after-action review, the analysis of previous actions, is not individuals, but a specific case.
My entire YouTube channel is basically based off of after actions. If you've lived through some of these experiences, if you've been in rooms with guys on a team where, whether it was policing or it was in the military, it's everybody's responsibility to be accountable. And a lot of the time, the things that I talk about or the videos that I make, people take them as personal attacks. They think, oh, you're calling this guy out, or, you know, you're disrespecting this person. It has nothing to do with the people that are making the mistakes, or nothing to do with the individual who's talking about this technique that may or may not be the best valid option. It's always about the tactic. It's always about the techniques. And if there's a better way to do something, then people should have an opportunity to decide for themselves what they believe is the best way to do it, because ultimately the goal here is to find the best information possible, put the best information possible out there, and let people decide on whether or not it works for them.
We are discussing a specific case. That is, you make mistakes due to your lack of communication, lack of knowledge of tactical and technical characteristics or capabilities. We need to understand whether it happens consciously or unconsciously, or simply due to I don't care attitude, so that in a real-life situation you do the radically opposite, so that you make the right choice, and not get KIA or WIA in reality. This is coordination and cooperation, when everyone in a group already understands each other perfectly, because they used to screw it up like 30, 40, 50 times during training. They have already experienced all these moments on the training tatami, and then they go into battle understanding all these nuances they have experienced. You just have to memorize this model and then transfer it to your real units, to your real people. Usually when they talk through and work through each of their mistakes together with us, it's like half an interrogation and the other half like a session with a psychotherapist. And we break down the entire problem into smaller parts with them. And when they will have a real assault, they will take all these mistakes into account.
I think something that also gets lost sometimes in these after actions is like, yes, you want to take responsibility for a mistake and you want other people to take responsibility for their mistakes, but it's also important to understand from that person's perspective why they made the decision that they made, because I feel like if we can really, truly, and deeply understand that we can get a better chance and a better opportunity to prevent similar mistakes from happening in the future.
All right. Move, 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 move. Grenade. Clear, clear. Done. Plus. Move, move, move. Empty. Holding. Ready. Securing position. Securing. Spread out. Right turn. Right turn. Stop, stop, stop. See him. Clear. Clear. Clear.
If you appreciate the English dubbing, which takes me many hours to complete, and you found value in this video, you can help me reach more people by feeding the algorithm down below. If you have any information that would also add value to this conversation, make sure you're putting that in the comment section.